All right, y'all, we can mute ourselves. All right, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Let me set up the recording option though before I forget. Okay, it's happening. So I'm really pumped for this call because I've been doing a lot of reading these past few weeks and I relearned a lot of it. And these are things that I've known for a long time, but I completely forgot about. So I'm pumped. There's going to be a lot of information. I'm going to try to compile it all at once. I'm going to be reading because I have a lot of notes I want to go off of. So a lot of the things I'm going to be talking to you guys about today, it comes from a course called The Ugly Training. If you guys have never heard of them, I would look them up. They have a whole entire workbook. And there's a message that I learned from their workshops that I really, truly believe that we should all be reflecting and we should all be learning from, particularly if your goal is to build a team. What they teach is it's clear cut. And before we dive into this, I want to touch on a few things. I want you guys to understand a few concepts before we dive in, because when I first learned this, I came from a place of defense mode. I've learned this concept a few times, and each time I was very defensive. I want you guys to understand that adopting a growth mindset is a skill, okay? Adopting a growth mindset is a skill, and approaching situations as a student is a skill. So the more that you guys focus on building the growth mindset muscle, the quicker you guys are going to begin to see changes in your life. And I know that sounds, okay, Veronica, I get it, but wait. So how do you build that muscle? Well, obviously it's by putting yourself in situations where you consistently have to fight those battles, which is going to require you to learn new skills. And I don't know if you guys ever take a second to recognize this. My boyfriend and I talk about it a lot, and I really recognized it, especially since leaving my full-time. We literally have the privilege to become a better version of ourselves every single day. There's never a day in this business that we have an excuse to not make it happen, because we have the ability to make as much as we want, wherever we want from this device. And if we end our day and didn't move the needle forward on our business, there's no one really to blame besides us when it comes to what we're building right now, right? So if you can just take one thing, if you hop off this call and can just take one thing, I want it to be this. It doesn't matter where you guys are right now. I'm going to touch on speaking points that may resonate with you. And even if you think you're doing everything right, you might feel a little bit called out, because as I was writing this meeting, I was like, whoa, I do that. I'm feeling a little bit called out. And I know that there are certain calls that we get off of and we're not inspired, right? We feel like we failed somewhere because the speaking points speak to us. And that is not the point of this call. The point of this call is for you guys to understand that there's two mindsets, a fixed and a growth mindset. And we probably both fall in both categories. And you can literally teach yourself how to grow from one to the other in a week, in 2 weeks, if you really put the focus on it. So if you get off this call and you're like, damn, I have a fixed, I'm trying not to swear, AF mindset, that is okay. You are not behind. That doesn't mean you're not going to hit SCB or MMB or get your caddy or you're a bad leader. It just simply means that there's a place in your business that you can improve on a little bit. And the goal is by the time that we're done with this, you have a plan of action to do that. So let's dive into this. What's a growth mindset? Okay, so a growth mindset is the belief that you can learn, change, and adapt. So you believe that skills are built and that there's always room for improvement. That's what a growth mindset is, okay? Now, what is a fixed mindset? Well, a fixed mindset is the belief that you're stuck. You think you're stuck, you have to stay here, you can't change, you can't adapt. These are the kind of people who believe skills are things you're born with, right? Like they were born with that. That's why she's so good at business. She was just born with that skill set. You believe that you have them or you don't. You believe that no one else controls them besides you. You can't build anything. You're at where you're at because it's the life that you were given, and that's it, right? And when I first heard this concept, when my mentor first talked about this, and if anyone is on this call from my previous business, my mentor Sandy ran this meeting a lot. And her first time I was like, yo, I have a growth mindset. Like I'm an entrepreneur. I don't need to be in this meeting. I'm good. I'm straight. Don't even worry about it. Okay, so I want to go over some examples of things that I've thought in the past 3 months, just really quickly. I want you guys to put a 1 in chat if you've ever thought anything along these lines. I can't do a podcast. They just don't work for me. Like I don't do podcasts. They don't work. I don't really like to read. Like I can't really focus when I'm reading. It just doesn't resonate with me, and it doesn't really help me in my business. I know everyone talks about doing manifestations, but like I don't really do them a lot because they don't really work for me. What about this one? when you're watching someone on their story and they're like really going, you guys message me all the time. How did you get so comfortable on camera? You're just like a natural, you're so natural. You're so great at speaking. You're a natural born leader. I want you guys to put on one on chat if you've ever thought that about anyone in this business when you're in your comparison mind trap frame. Am I alone? No one? Okay, perfect. So we all agree that at one point in our lives, this is something that we have to work on. So some people, when they're in this mentality, when you're in this fixed mentality, there's, can we mute ourselves? You guys hop on. When you're in a fixed mentality, there's two different focus points. There's two focus points. Some people think they're stuck and they can't get better. And other people think that they're born with these skills, they were a natural and they don't need to get any better. And both of these are obviously a really easy way to hold yourself back. And one thing that I want you guys to recognize about having a fixed mindset, and I'm going to say this slow because my mentor, she said it like 6 times before I really got it. A fixed mindset impacts your actions and your behavior. And by those actions and behaviors being influenced, you're now putting a halt on your capacity to grow. I'm going to repeat that. A fixed mindset impacts your actions and your behavior. And by those actions and behaviors being influenced, you are now putting a halt on your capacity to grow. So for example, if your belief is, I'm not a people person, right? That's your mindset, which, hey, I said that forever. That's only because you've never interacted with people, right? So you end up, oh, let me backtrack. If you believe that you're not a people person, you probably put yourself in a position where you don't have to be around people. I don't want to go out. I don't want, like, there's times where I'm not in a people person mood. I'm not going to go to the bar where I'm surrounded by people. I'm not going to go to the beach. I'm not going to go out with my friends where I'm surrounded by people, right? But I have friends, my friends are like, I can never do this business. I'm not a people person. What do you mean? You're not a people person because you've never put yourself into a position where you've had to be around people. So therefore you've made this assumption off this belief that you've been saying since you were freaking 15 years old. And now you're a 34 and grown adult and you think you're not a people person? Like, that limiting belief has stood with you your whole entire life. For myself, I used to always say I'm not a girl's girl. And to be honest with you guys, it's a big reason why I've never done a business like this. I would avoid network marketing companies because I just assumed it wasn't for me because I'm not a girl's girl. My initial belief literally robbed me from opportunities. It robbed me. I would have been a goddamn millionaire. Like, it halted me to stay still for how many years? Who here does group fitness? Put a 1 if you've ever done any group fitness class. Orange Theory, if you do kickboxing, if you do group yoga, anything like that. So I do Orange Theory. My first Orange Theory class, my first like 3, we run, there's like a tread block, a rower block, and a floor. I'm not a runner. My whole life I've said, I'm not a runner. I don't know how to run. 3 minutes in, I'm like dying, I'm heaving, I'm in the red. My trainers used to walk over, they'd be like, are you okay? Do you slow down? I'm like, no, I'm okay, I got this. By my 3rd week, guess what? I wasn't running at Orange Theory. I was always walking. I was always doing the walking blocks. And a trainer walked over to me one day and they're like, hey, when you started the classes, you were doing running blocks. Now you're doing walking blocks. What happened? And I was like, I just can't run. It's not my thing. I'm not about it. What did he do? He taught me how to start with a base and work my way towards a push, and an all out, I can now do an 11-minute mile. And for me, that's a really big deal because it was 25 minutes a year ago. So my point, why I'm giving all these examples is because we do this in our business all of the time without even realizing it. It's in the lives that we don't do. It's in the books that we don't read. It's in the actions that we don't take after a call. It's in the trainings that we don't watch, because we assume that we know it all. We don't have to watch this training anymore. It's in the lack of consistently pitching your prospects because you feel like you've done it enough times. It happens when you decide not to show up in group chat every other day or whatever the case may be. We're constantly making decisions where we're falling back into this fixed mindset. Part of that is discipline, right? But the other part of that is here. It's what you're thinking about. It's what's happening in your head. So how do we fix it? Okay, well, the key to changing your mindset lies first and foremost in self-awareness. So to change your mindset, you have to be able to identify the situations that trigger a fixed mindset and observe when you're falling into it. You have to be able to realize what is triggering me to feel this way and what is causing me to think this way. And again, I know that sounds like common sense, but so many of us don't do it because if we did it, we'd all be in the $1 Million Club or hitting ranks. So let's go over the 4-step approach by Carol Dweck, I believe is her name. I have to look it up. I'm pretty sure it's Carol Dweck. I've learned this in school. If you guys haven't taken a minute to like look over this 4-step theory, you should. It's free. It's on TED Talks. So number one, the first step she talks about if you're trying to go from a growth mindset to a fixed mindset. Number one, everyone who's on my team is about to laugh. Learn how to hear your fixed mindset voice. Number one, learn how to hear your fixed mindset voice. If you're on my team, you already know, I call this your bitch voice. So what is your bitch voice? Your bitch voice, sorry if there's kids, I'm gonna swear in this particular part of this call. When you are approaching a new challenge, your fixed mindset voice says, are you sure you can do it? What if you fail? Right? It's how all of us think when we start our business. Am I sure I can really do this? I don't know about that, right? Or after hitting an obstacle, maybe you guys posted something and no one answered, or you put offers out, right? We're doing this 20 and 30 day challenge where we're all sending out offers, and maybe no one answered you today. Maybe not one person got back to you. And then you're thinking, you know what? If only I just had a little bit more talent. I knew it was too risky. It was too fast. I should have waited a little bit. I shouldn't have put those offers out, right? That's what our fixed mindset's telling us during an obstacle or during criticism. Like, let's say you got a clown in your inbox. Some clown in your inbox is sending you all these like wild ass things. In the beginning, sometimes even as a seasoned leader, you start to taking what people are saying to you, right? So you start to chew on those things, or you go into defense mode. Like if a mentor is trying to coach you and it's something like, who the hell does this person think they are? We don't want to take the coaching. We don't want to accept it and implement it. So your bitch voice, and I didn't make this up, it's from Real AF, from a podcast. He talks about this all the time. But it's the voice that undermines so much of what you do. It's the inner critic that judges you and your work all day, every day. And once you recognize what triggers it, now it's your time to like listen inwardly for it. So when it happens, you recognize it and it's not permanent. You don't not do podcasts. You just listen to one shitty podcast. Listen to another one. I guarantee you one that can help you grow your business. You don't not know how to recruit. You just sent out some offers and no one answered. It's called law of averages. The next day, people are going to answer. You don't not know how to post. You just had a shitty post one day. It's okay. Sit in it. Recognize what actual action is causing the negative emotion to go through your brain. Recognize what it is. Let it pass. That's like the most important aspect of it. So that's step one. Step one is learning to hear your fixed mindset voice in different areas in business. Okay, Jordan, you're speaking. Thanks, Boom. So number two is recognizing you have a choice. If you're on this call, there's 24 people on this call, guess what? You no longer have the excuse of listening to your bitch voice. You don't have it. When you don't freaking feel like doing something, or you're in your own head or in your own feelings, you now know that you're choosing to feel that way. Meaning if you choose to stay in that space, that is your decision. That is not a me problem. That is now a you problem. And I'm speaking on behalf of my whole goddamn team. That is no longer a me problem. Because if you know, hey, this happened and this made me feel this way, and when this happened, I now got into my head at this moment, and you're now recognizing how to fix it over and over and over again, that's a decision. So that's number two, is recognizing you have a choice. Number three, talk back to it with a growth mindset voice. Talk back to it with a growth mindset voice. So I'll go over the same examples I just touched on, but if you guys are on my team, you know me, I write everything down. I journal, I speak to I'm like one of those people, I don't know. So when I used to run my previous business, I had a little notebook with me, and I used to do door-to-door sales. So in the field, when you're by yourself, you get into your head a lot, especially when they'd slam the door and like be rude. By yourself in a dark neighborhood, you kind of got in your own head. So I would have a little notebook with me, and I would have thought and then growth mentality. So when a thought crossed my head, like I used to think, like after I got 6 no's, that was it. 6 no's for me was like, oh, I'm like, I want to go home. I'm done. I'm quitting. Every time I got 6 consecutive no's. So by the 6th no, a month in, do you think I was still sitting on the curb? No, because I recognized, okay, I just got 5. If the next one happens, I'm going to get in my head. So here is what I'm going to think about instead. So you want to write down the thought, the negative thought that's happening during a situation. And then you want to write to yourself how you should be thinking about that moment. So for example, as you approach a challenge, right? Let's say your mentor sends you a challenge. I want you to pitch 30 people today. You're in your head, it's saying, are you sure you can do it? Like, am I sure I can do this? Are they really going to respond? I don't know. I don't really have the ability to do this. I'm good. That's what a fixed mindset does. A growth mindset goes, I'm not really sure I can do it right now, but I think I can learn. And with time and effort, maybe my 30 pitches now aren't going to get me a response, but maybe next month it will. When you hit a setback, right? Let's say you're like gunning for this rank. And if you guys haven't worked your ass off all month to not hit a rank at the end of the month, you will. You will. And the true leaders are the ones who get back up that following day on the first and do it all over again without letting it dwell. But a fixed mindset wakes up on the first of that next month and you're like, man, if I was freaking Shotgun Ortega, I would have hit it by the third. No, you guys, Michael Jordan wasn't easy. Basketball wasn't easy for Michael Jordan off the bat. Thomas Edison wasn't, like, science wasn't easy. They had a passion. They put a ton of effort into it. And because of that, results were bred. So I challenge you guys, if you're constantly battling your own thoughts in this business, which is normal, there's nothing wrong with that. I challenge you guys to start writing down when they're happening for two reasons. Number one, you can coach yourself through them. But number two, you're going to be able to identify common patterns. You're going to be able to identify them. For example, I recognize that I get the most in my feelings when I do a potential call and they say they're going to buy and they don't. That used to be my trigger. That was it. I would chew on it for days. For days, I would chew on it. But now that I know that, when I go into a potential call and I get off of a call, I grab my notebook and I look at what I told myself to think, because that's what this business is. It's mentality over ability, and I feed it to myself enough times to where I'm no longer thinking after the call. So that's step three. Step three is speaking back to it from a growth mindset. And then step four is taking the growth mindset action. Taking the growth mindset action. Take the necessary action that's going to lead to growth. That's like the hardest part. We might know all of these things. We're in a very heavy information business, but not very many of us actually put it into application. So by taking the growth mindset, that might mean that you might take on a new challenge. It might mean that you're learning from setbacks. It might mean that you have to persist without exception. If your goal is to fucking hit MMB, hit goddamn MMB. And if that means it's going to require going out of your comfort zone, if that means it's going to require you doing things that might scare you a little bit, do them. I see Becca laughing at me. I get really randomly excited sometimes. Sorry, it is what it is. Just do it. Do the shit that you got to do to get to the goal. This business isn't hard, but if you're constantly in your own head talking yourself out of it, you're not going to hit it. It's not going to happen. This business is 80% mentality. That's what it is. And after you guys change the fixed mindset voice with the growth mindset to determine the appropriate action, there's a series of questions that my mentor used to always talk to me about. So I want to go over these with you guys relatively quickly, and then you guys can ask questions if you need it. So here is a set of questions that she used to always coach us to ask ourselves monthly. At the beginning of every single month, if you're trying to approach a growth mindset, how do you do that? You're asking yourself, what can I learn from this month? Rewind. You start by doing you write down all of your wins and all of your losses. That's the first step. Then you ask yourself, what can I learn from my losses? Number two, what steps can I take this month to help me succeed? Number three, do I know the outcome or goal that I'm after? Number four, what information can I gather to get to this goal and where do I get it from? Number five, where can I get constructive feedback? What can I learn from this? What steps can I take to help me succeed? Do I know the outcome or goal that I'm after? What information can I gather and from where? And then where can I get constructive feedback? Right, so we know the 4 steps to go from our growth to a fixed mindset, but now you want to figure out, how do I attack a month focusing on a growth mindset? You attack it by those questions. And then you do daily reflections on a regular basis to recognize if you're actually growing. What are your daily reflections? What did I learn today? That's question 1 that you're asking. Question 2 is, what mistakes did I make that taught me something? It's number 2. Number 3, is my current learning strategy working? Is my current learning strategy working? And if not, how can I change it? Number 4, what did I try hard at today? And then number 5, what habits must I develop to continue the gains I've achieved? What habits must I develop to continue the gains I've achieved? I'm going to copy and paste them because I'm seeing some of you guys like trying to write them all down. I can totally send this recording to you guys afterwards. Those are the daily ones right there. And then these are the weekly ones right there. They all kind of came in one. I can send this to you guys after if you need. There's a lot of information, I know. I'll probably do like a 3-part call on this. But those are weekly and those are daily that you can focus on to focus on a growth mindset. Because one thing that you guys have to understand about questions is your questions determine your focus, which greatly influence your reality. So in a fixed mindset, right, our reality, it's dim, it's limited. Your world is small. You're living in this box and you think you can never get out of this box. But the more growth-minded questions that you begin to ask yourself, the wider and the brighter the world gets for you. You just have more possibilities because you're constantly thinking bigger on a regular basis. Does that make sense, everybody? I'm seeing head nods. Okay, cool. Here's what I'm gonna do when we hop off this call. I'm gonna be posting a image on my IG. If you don't follow me, my Instagram name is V Kogan. I'm gonna be posting an image, and on that image is going to be, actually here, let me do this. I'm gonna show it to you guys. Share screen. Share screen. Plus. Okay. So I'm gonna be posting this image on my social media here in a second. And it talks about having obviously a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. And it talks about the different levels, right? So having a fixed or a growth mindset with challenges, with obstacles, with effort, with criticism, with success of others. And all of these are relevant in business. All of these affect the kind of business that we do. And I challenge you guys to pick one. So if right now after this call, you recognize, hey, I give up really easily. When shit doesn't go my way, I throw in the towel. Make obstacles be this week's focus. And get with your upline. And you're gonna say, hey, I really struggle pushing through when stuff gets hard. I struggle. I get in my head 3 days in and I no longer put in the effort. Challenge yourself to push through with that one subject. So I'm gonna post this, screenshot it, decide what you wanna go with, and I challenge you guys, get with your upline. Put a goal on paper, because if you can figure out how to control your own thoughts when shit gets hard, that is what is going to get you guys, I'm not even gonna talk ranks, it's what's gonna get you guys a better life. You're naturally going to be happier. You're going to be more excited. You're going to be more genuine in what you do on a daily basis, because what you're feeding yourself is not negative. What you're feeding yourself is not doubt. It's constant positive. It's constant goals. It's constant vision. It's constant where I'm going next. And a lot of you guys ask me, how are you always so hype and excited? Because I don't have time to feed myself anything besides the fact that I'm a badass who's going to attack everything I want to attack because I control it. It's me. There's nobody else. Everything I have, Jackie has. Everything I have, Sam has. We all have the same goddamn resources. They've just been here longer. Want to know what beats time? Effort. So show up. Pour into your own cup. Every day, not some days, every day. Put together a whole goddamn week and then do it again, and then do it again, and then do it again. And then you have a month where you've double ranked, triple ranked, quadruple ranked. And it's possible for every single one of us, but all of us get stuck. This thing happens, and then we dwell on it, and then we're nagged out, and then we go bitch about it in group chat, and then we go bitch about it to our sidelines, and then it carries into the next day, and it carries into the next day. Like, y'all, none of us have time. None of us have time. I want you guys to understand one thing. We are growing, and we are growing quickly. And whoever is not right now chasing to get their lunch, someone will eat your lunch for you. And I'm telling you that because I'm seeing my dream team being swooped up by like random ass girls they don't even know just because of their social media presence. Fuck that. No, none of that. No more. We got 3 more weeks to dominate this week. And if all of you guys are in a position right now where if you can focus on making one thing better, if you can focus on one mentality that you want to make stronger, to grow from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset, I guarantee you guys the month ends strong. So anyways, I hope this helped out. If you guys have any questions, feel free to shoot me a message. And once I get the recording, I'll send it out in chat. Remember, a growth mindset is something you guys can learn. Literally, you can learn it in 2 weeks. Practice it regularly and see how your life changes. Bye, y'all.